What's up, everybody? It's Greg with Evangel Bruckers, and this is the ADV1 podcast. This is a podcast where we come to you with relevant training and topics. And today we have our leadership huddle, and we have a very special guest. We have two special guests. As always, we have Mitch, the co-host, Tyler Mitchell of Fifth Dimension Potential. Mitch, how you doing, brother?
I am doing better now, Greg.
You're doing better now, fine, because we're finally starting. It's 39 minutes in. And we have our special guest this week is Kevin Vega. Kevin, how you doing, brother?
Doing good. Doing fantastic.
So Kevin, I don't know if you've watched any of these. You probably haven't because they're long and they're usually full of crap.
Remember, you cut out all of the stuff that happens beforehand. It's only the 30 minutes that you actually put into the video.
I don't know. Those first 38 minutes might be the most entertaining.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be cut out. But we usually spend the first portion of this just kind of talking, catching up, chit-chatting, if you will. And then we kind of delicately or in the worst way possible, try to weave in the topic at hand and want to talk about it, get some value, drop some nuggets, and then we artfully close it out. Maybe stumble a time or two, but we end up we get the job done. So
in true military fashion, we get it done.
We get the job done one way or another.
Oh man.
And we try to bring value. So Kevin, how are you doing, man?
Doing great, man.
How's life?
Doing fantastic. You see how my beard's growing in finally.
Yeah, no. So you now can grow your beard, which
absolutely.
Which I'm excited to see it get thick. I want to see how thick this bad boy gets.
I'm actually surprised I could even grow one. Like that whole Asian side of me, I thought it was just going to be like little patches here and there.
Dude, mine was super patchy. Mine used to. Do you remember mine when I first started growing it?
No.
When I first started growing it, it was super patchy on the side. And I like where my mustache hits, there was like a big old bald patch right here. It would not grow on both sides. And then like I had little patches all over, but over time, as I just kept shaving and kept growing, it just filled in. So yeah, I think it'll just grow in. I want to see
probably from all the.
And how long that process is going to take for me. I say 6 months.
It took me a good year to where it was like just a solid, patch of hair is all connected. So.
I was telling Mitch earlier, I'm going to go get that profile where I don't have to actually shave it when I go to final out.
Where did you go to final out? Yeah, son.
I was going to say Greg's patches of Houlihan was probably from drinking all that bottled water that was left out in the Iraqi sun for years. All those plastics in your face.
Oh man.
probably prevented it from growing there, and then you came home and all was well.
All the chemicals I was just exposed to.
Yeah, we're all gonna get cancer.
Oh yeah,
1,000%.
The water.
That's why I was like, I'm probably gonna die of cancer when I'm young anyway, so I might as well live large, die large, live a good life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, those water bottles out in the 140 degree heat probably weren't very good for our health.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Any of you guys sleep under the power plant at Iskandaria, spewing out black death?
No.
I haven't been there.
That was a good time.
No. I was in Kirkuk.
North, land of milk and honey.
Yeah, we were right by the Tigers. Where we were at?
Yes.
We were right by the Tigers. It was. It smelled like feces outside at all times.
It's because they poop in the water.
Yeah. So this is a funny story.
Sewage for you.
So we were on a mission. This is in Iraq. This is like 2009. We're on this mission, and we did this joint mission with the Iraqi police, where we went and did a raid. And we went to the police station. And they had like a base very similar to ours. We had to go in, check in our vehicles and stuff. We get out and we do a whole rock drill with them. We show them the area we're going to. At the time, I was with an infantry company. I was the XO. I was an armor officer at the time. And so we did a rock drill with them. We go over the objective. We know the plan. We brought images of the location. We shared with them. We're like letting them lead the charge. And so we get there, we do the raid, we get the guy. It's real quick. We're like in and out, done. And we drive away. We're like, they nabbed the guy, they got him locked up, and we're driving down the street, and they pull over to celebrate. And we pulled over on the side of the road, and there was the river that was right there, and there was a culvert going down to the river. And they get out, and they're all like celebrating, and like you look at the culvert, and it's full of trash and shit, bro. It's disgusting.
Oh yeah.
And they're getting down there, and they're like washing their faces and drinking out their hands. And I was like, whoa. I was like, grabbing my interpreter. I was like, hey, tell them that we got water bottles. Tell them that we got water bottles. Like, right. He's like, sir, no. He's like, no. He's like, they're used to that. He's like, if you have them drink that will F them up. Yeah, they'll be done.
They get sick.
They'll get super sick. He was like, that's too clean for them. He's like, don't let them drink that.
And you look down the road, some dude is like, now.
Ugh. It was bad, bro. I could have swore I saw like dirty diapers like floating in the water.
Yeah,
it was disgusting, bro.
You guys ever have to walk through like a
freaking Afghans? That was the worst.
Did you ever have to walk through a poo pond?
No, we had a poo pond in our.
I'm glad I never had to do that, man. I never had to do that. I'm glad I did. But like, I remember a platoon leader coming back from patrol, walking into the talk, and he had fallen face first into one. So his whole front half was covered, and the only thing he had done was open his eyes, but he hadn't opened his mouth or he hadn't spoken since he fell in, because he was terrified of getting like hepatitis or something, they all took pictures of him, and oh man, it was so gross. I probably have a picture of that somewhere. Woo! Good times. But is this about war stories? Is that what we're telling? Is that what we're doing?
No. I was just kind of, I don't know why I thought about it, but we started talking about deployments, and
it was your patches of Houlihan hair. That was my fault.
Yeah,
I did that.
Yeah. You started.
Blame me for that.
You started that rabbit hole that we just jumped down.
I'm like,
so it's good. I mean, Kevin, you're on your 6-month hiatus, your sabbatical, if you will. So you get to grow your hair out. Dude, you should grow just the most sick party in the back.
Mullet.
Business up front mullet with a good thick beard, bro.
Yeah, your wife would love that.
Just go full retard. Just go
full kimono.
Oh, that would be awesome, bro.
You guys keep saying full kimono. I'm pretty sure
it was an accident. Kimono. It was an accident on the first one. I didn't say open kimono. I said full kimono. So ever since it's became a hashtag. So now it's just full kimono.
Okay. So that's like one of those.
We mean open kimono, but it's full kimono.
We're just taking happy accidents.
Yeah, we've just took it
like my mermaid. Like I didn't mean to hit the mermaid, but I just went with it.
Yeah, so now everyone's doing the merman, the mer girl,
the mer people. I love it.
The mer people are chat. That's like the ultimate sign of respect. It's the
if you get mermanned.
Oh, that's so good.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I was like, oh crap, I'll let it go. And then I just said, oh, screw
next thing you know, people are like making tridents for little like little tiny emojis to
I love it, man. I love it. Maybe that should be my hashtag. Hashtag merpeople. Let's go. Yeah.
I got in all
hashtag
shirts.
Leadership wins. I want that one. Isn't your store open?
Yeah. Well. So the store's open.
You're wearing some swag right now.
I am wearing some swag. So the store's open, but we have two different stores. So this store was we built one based off of because Lexi had a store front that she had made for her shirts.
Yeah.
For her Lexi Ray Fitness. And so she still had access to it. So she just basically made like these ADV1 shirts from there.
Nice.
Because we were trying to get them right away. So we ordered a bunch from there. And so did Kevin. I ordered a hashtag Meme King shirt for Kevin. It should be at his house anytime. I ordered one for Barbara, Meme Queen. And then she's really the gift queen though. But anyhow, you're picking up what I'm putting down. But everyone ordered shirts from there. But they just made a store that's attached to the Advantage One Brokers website. That's a different storefront. But we have to go in there and actually like fix the shirts. And I kind of want to take the one that we got from Lexi's and like add it to the website so that people can just go to the website and do it. And we're working that. Because I like this quality shirt. Like I like her shirts that she has.
It's the moisture wicking one, right?
Yeah, it's like it's mostly it's a cotton shirt, but it's just a nice blend. Like it fits well. It's tight. It's an athletic build. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to buy my own, is what you're saying.
No. I'll buy you some. I'll send you some, clown.
No. It's
I
free.
sent one to Kevin, Barbara, Billy, the gate guard. The dude who does my lawn.
But I did order my own swag. I'm getting my hat in, and I'm gonna wear that thing for every freaking podcast.
Oh yeah, so I got my hat. I'm not wearing it for a podcast, but I got it. We did like a trucker style hat.
Trucker style
with a snapback.
Snapback.
Actually, I like it. So Kevin and I are going to Sacramento this week. We're going to go meet some new people that are coming on board that are going to be flying in, and I'm going to wear that hat on the plane.
Are we going to do a recording while we're there? We should.
We probably will. Yeah, we'll probably do a recording while we're there.
I got this bad boy on my little weekend travels. I don't know if you can see.
That's like straight from the soldiers freaking center where they get all the swag. Yeah.
That looks like from the Hard Rock Cafe in Rome. I mean, or it could be from there.
It looks like something you got from Buckle, like an Affliction T-shirt.
That's what I'm saying.
Hard Rock Cafe, bro.
You could iron that on. Don't lie.
You could have, you could have just ironed it on, bro.
Rome. So, that's where I was over the weekend. I am in Italy, people. 2 hours away from my house. I was in Rome for the long weekend. We went to the Hard Rock Cafe, ate some Americana food. It was legit.
So here's a tangent. The best Chinese food that I've ever had has been in Europe, like hands down. Is that the same in Italy? Yeah.
Well, the best pizza I've ever had has been right where I'm at right now, Naples.
Oh, well, I'd imagine
on the planet, like nowhere comes close. New York doesn't come close. Chicago's pizza sucks. Everything else you get in those big chains is garbage, straight garbage. And they're only like, I can feed my whole family. Each kid can get a whole pie to themselves. I can feed them all for 20 euros. You ain't doing that in the States. That's one pizza.
Yeah, that's one pizza, exactly.
Yeah, and it sucks. It's full of garbage and all sorts of things. They do it simple. A little margarita pizza. It's just dough done right. The sauce is, the tomatoes are growing right over there on Vesuvius, right behind me. Like if it was daylight, you'd see the big old volcano behind me. There's tomatoes are grown, a little bit of basil, and then the buffalo mozzarella farm is right up the road from me. Boom. It doesn't get any better than that. These are the kinds of pizza that you take a bite of and you just like, you don't even chew it. You just sit there with it in your mouth and you're like, you just go stupid. Yeah. You say, point to everybody. Like, yeah, it's great. I don't know what Greg's doing. Hashtag transparency.
I'm looking at messages that are coming through. Sorry.
But yeah. Well, what I found here though, living in Italy, I ain't gonna lie. Have you been to Europe? You've been to Europe before, Kevin, right?
Yeah. I was stationed in Germany.
It is the hardest thing culturally to communicate with people, right? Even if you're both speaking English, the way that folks here speak English and the way that we speak English, especially in the military, is not the same.
Well, not the same. Like Samuel L. Jackson in one of his movies. MF for this.
Well, besides the expletives, which I try to keep at a minimum, unless Greg upsets me. It's more like the direct...
Me upsetting you. I can just wake up in the morning and you're pissed off that I'm alive.
Breathing,
just breathing
in and out. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway, so like the what was I talking about? See, he just upset me again. He just interrupts me, ruins my flow. Unbelievable. Talk about that. Interrupting while someone's talking. especially when they're old and gray.
Communication flaw.
Yeah.
I'm trying to add for the future communication that you're about to talk about. I'm giving you content.
Are you throwing up softballs?
I am.
I didn't recognize them. They look like hand grenades. But so no, it's just I'm speaking English, they're speaking English, but not the same, right? It's like I understand what they're saying, but like the meaning behind what they're saying is not how we would communicate it. It's like very indirect, very passive aggressive at times, and it just doesn't translate well into like, it's almost like someone's like, hey, it would be nice if the garbage can looks full, it's nice outside, do you want me to take out the garbage? Like what's happening here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that happens on that happens on the regular with stuff, and just that. And it's not so bad that we're not communicating on the same level. It's just that it leaves room for miscommunication. And even worse is misunderstanding, where, one party is not understanding what the other party is saying. So there's two ways to that. There's people that say, try to communicate so that, or what is it? With communication, try to understand before you're being understood, right? It's not to be understood, it's to understand, right? I would say it's not that. I would say communicate so that there's no room for misunderstanding. Communicate so you're not misunderstood. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's a different way to approach that phraseology there, just so that you're like, there's zero room for misunderstanding what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So people are like, no, I understand what you're saying. I'm like, no, but could someone else misunderstand what you just said? Right. So like, it's like that clear.
You ever see Fifth Element, where he's trying to tell that dude to give him the gun, and he like throws him the pool ball, and he's like, "Yeah, oh, thanks."
I have watched Fifth Element. I don't remember that scene though.
When they're in the yacht and everything is like hitting the fan, and he's like,
with Chris Tucker.
Yeah, and he's with him, and then the guy that's deaf, he's like, "Hey, yeah, give me the gun," and he's pointing at the gun, and then he rolls the pool ball over to him, and then the guy gives him a thumbs up.
I don't remember that, but yeah, pretty much. That's my life in a nutshell. Like, give me the gun and I get a pool ball, right? And the thumbs up, like, yeah. It's like, no, that's not what I wanted. But I'm sure that's never happened to Greg. He is the communicator extraordinaire, #transparency.
Okay, I don't think I'm an extraordinaire at anything.
I don't think you are either, because you weren't listening to a damn word I was saying.
I was listening to bits and pieces.
But that's a softball Greg was throwing up for me, because he knew that I would be watching him not listen to what I was saying.
Exactly.
And that I would play off of that. So now I'm going to say a lot of communicating is listening.
It is listening.
Right? I don't know. I don't know if I'm a very good active listener. I've had to work on that a lot.
So in terms of communication, the way I'm going to phrase this, it has to do one with leadership, but also two with sales. Okay. Because as a salespeople, which is, the profession of both Kevin and I now. Kevin, you look like you're zoned the hell out. You're just like your eyes look like they're like
active listening face.
Yeah. So as salespeople, we have to be able to listen to, in a sense, and to the clients, listen to what their concerns are, listen to what they're looking for, listen to just to them as what I've done in sales, what I've learned in sales is the more you listen and just let the client talk, you can guide the conversation wherever you need to guide it in order to get the sale. It makes it a lot easier. So applying those same principles to leadership, you can, instead of making the sale, it's just influencing people to get them to the outcome that they're looking for or what you're helping them to get to. So just having a good conversation, asking really good questions, which you say you're not a good listener, Mitch, but if you think like the leadership, the type of leadership that you use the most the democratic style is very
Coaching.
much like the coaching is very much about like asking questions and listening, but you only ask questions based on what's said in order to kind of coach them into, you just ask questions that get them to the answer, like almost like they're like, the answer and you're getting them to the answer, but you want them to kind of decide themselves. The only way you can ask those questions is by listening to them.
You're right, which is why I said I'm not a good active listener. I've had to work at it.
Yeah.
Because I have had to work at it. And I think, but just by knowing that I'm not a good one, like I'm more cognizant of it, and you can read up on it, you can study. It's the big thing is since I'm, as I get older and have children and what have you, and my kids are older now, they're not as old as your kids yet, Greg, but like, how old's Lily? 16?
She is 16.
Goodness. She's frozen at like
my oldest is 16 years old.
She's frozen at like 8 in my mind.
Yeah. She's
probably like 6 feet tall. Anyway, yeah, but my kids are old enough to interact. They're, my oldest is 12. But it's just listening to understand what they're saying instead of listening to respond, and giving a little half beat in there so there's space. Now, when you and I talk to each other, Greg, there is no space because we're both extreme extroverts and we're very direct individuals. I can tell Kevin is not that way, which is why I'm glad he's here to moderate. Quite frankly,
he's actually, I would say,
there's the no space.
Yeah, Kevin's a very emotionally in tuned person.
EQ, bro. #EQ. I'm gonna get that tattooed on my lower back.
Emotional intelligence.
It's gonna go real well
sure.
above the butterfly that you have.
Ooh, is it a monarch? Monarch, but swallowtail.
Yeah, no, he's very emotionally attuned. Which has to do with his ability to communicate, which is a really good topic for him to be on.
So what do you think, Kevin? I got a question for a person who's probably not as, you take me more as introverted. And so you're able to actually breathe in between someone else talking and you starting to talk or what have you. So you're probably like a thinker or whatever, but how hard is it for someone like yourself, and if I'm being too assumptive, just correct me, but to communicate with people who are like jumping all over the conversation? And what would you say to those people who are like that?
Honestly, it's not difficult at all. I mean, like you said, I think so. As you guys are talking and rambling on, I get to think about how best to interject and what actually to say. The more information you have, the better you're able to understand what it is that you need to say, how it comes out, how it comes across. Yeah. Honestly, it's the best position as far as leadership for my leadership style. It's just asking questions, letting people think. Yeah, I like it. There are times where you have to be, I don't want to say coercive, but you have to be more assertive, right, in your leadership. But understanding where to step across that line is really worked out for me.
Yeah, because if you're seen as like being too stoic all the time, it'd be like you're indecisive and you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Right. Yeah. Indecisiveness, as we all know, is really bad.
Yeah, or he's quiet, so he doesn't know what he's doing. He's unsure of himself because he doesn't talk a lot. See, whereas Greg and I, like I said, I've tried to work on this a lot over the decades, actually, because I've been like this my whole life. I mean, it's ingrained in my personality, but is again trying to do that active listening piece and listening to understand and not listening to respond. But it's really, really hard to do that, especially like in the environment that we're in the military, because like a lot of people are that kind of personality. So everyone's kind of fighting to get a word in edgewise, you know what I mean? Because that's just how you're heard, right? So I think though with you, you're able to, like you said, you're taking all that context in, and then you're able to think because everyone else is taking up all the air in the room. So you're able to sit there and think. But when it is time to talk, I think what you're able to formulate is a hell of a lot better than what Greg and I are formulating in our streams of consciousness, because we think while we're talking. We think talk, or talk think, right? We're doing it at the same time. Whereas, yeah, I have a hard time with that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Les Brown, and I think he's the one that had mentioned this, is that when you speak, you tell the whole world like who you are. So you always want to be conscious about what it is that you're saying and how you're saying it.
Oh yeah, how you're saying it's huge. I think you and I were having a conversation about this while Greg was wasting my time before we got on here, about dismissive talk and dismissive speech, even though it's like you don't even know what's happening. So like when two people are talking to each other, you can see that you almost like this unstoppable force and a movable object in communicating. And they don't have to be extrovert, introvert, or extrovert, extrovert. It doesn't really matter. And so anytime one party or the other party, one party says a statement or something, or poses an idea or a question, and then the other party's like, yeah, meaning I acknowledge what you said. And then their next word is, but, which just means I just dismissed everything you just said. I acknowledged it in one breath and dismissed it in the next. And so I've been trying to be more cognizant of that kind of like dismissive speak, where you're not taking the wind out of somebody's sails by your words, because words are powerful, especially if you're in a position of power, right? So like you two guys, you're managers, and you have people underneath you that look up to you. If you but people that you're in charge of, like, you automatically start shutting people down, and they're like, what am I even doing here? Why am I even doing this? Like, what the heck was the purpose of me even bringing that up? And so Greg and I have talked in previous podcasts about promotive and prohibitive voice. Both have their place. But if you use that dismissive speak, they don't do either of those things. They don't bring up.
To bring this full circle and like to provide value to the people watching this. Okay. So why is this even important? Okay. One is that the topic I already talked about, whereas sales, if you got to be able to listen to the client. Okay. But as a leader, there's a lot of times where the people that you're leading are going to come to you. What are you smiling from ear to ear about, bro? What are you this what?
Sorry.
People that you're leading, people that are in your charge that you're leading, there's gonna be times where they're gonna have to tell you stuff, or they're gonna want to tell you stuff that you're not gonna want to hear, to be very frank. However, and this is for people that are like my personality or like Mitch's personality, where we're talk thinkers, where we're like go. And we take action quickly. There's times where you're going to have to do almost like fall on the sword, as you will, in order to let them feel heard, but also just take a step back. And even though as a leader, you're going to be like, man, because as a leader, there's a lot of things, depending upon what level you're at, there's a lot that you see. You're looking at a whole picture. However, when, like, for instance, Mitch is always saying like, hey, you're the person on the ground. Like, you have a view that I don't have. So my view of the ground and Mitch's view as a coach slash advisor to me, he's got a different view. He's got a wider view of everything he's looking at. And I got the view of the ground, but then there's agents on the ground that have a view, even more narrow view, and they see stuff, they see details that I don't see, because I'm, trying to help agents across the industry, across the organization. So my view is a little bit wider. So I may see things, and as someone comes to me and says, hey, I got this problem, this issue, and they're telling me, well, I don't like when we do this, I don't like this, and I'm listening to it, I'm automatically listening, and I'm formulating what I'm going to say, because I'm like, well, they don't know this, they don't know this, they don't know this. And instead of me just responding, say, hey, no, you don't understand, a lot of times I'm going to have to, in order to communicate effectively and open lines of communication, I'm going to have to just sit there and listen and be like, hey, I and validate their opinions, even though they don't have the full viewpoint, because they have a different view. They're at a different perspective and they see details that I don't see, just like I see details that Mitch doesn't see. And I'm pointing behind me like he's above looking at me from a bird's eye view. So just to kind of bring it like what's the so what here for this conversation? Like what value, how do we train agents to become leaders, and how do we train leaders to become better communicators? I mean, that's basically what I'm trying to. Does that make sense?
If you take that conversation that you and I had where we were bouncing stuff back and forth and you were like, Mitch, you don't understand. This is what's happening on the ground. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't understand what's happening on the ground. But like Greg was saying, there's a level above the ground that is the bigger picture, the even bigger, the big picture. Like, so it's just making those ends meet in time and space. It really is what it, is. It's kind of like, well, here's this reality up here, and here's the reality I'm living right here. And so it's like, well, what's really real, and how can we make those things come together, and do they have to come together, or is there something up here that's a misperception that you can just discard altogether? Or is there something down here that this person is like, hey, danger, don't go left because that's bad. I know it looks good on the ground, but trust me, it's not, right? And so it's a trust thing. And I think based off that last conversation that you and I had, it was just like, hey man, and this is me talking to you. I was just like, hey dude, I defer to you on the ground on this. Go forth. And I think the last 3 conversations we've had, I've said that to you, right? It was you making the switch.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because you were like, I don't know, man. I was like, no, dude, I'm telling you, like,
yeah, I didn't have the conversations you had with people. Yeah. I didn't know the people. I was just like, here are the things from my perspective without having been on the ground. And I relayed that to Greg, and I was like, but at the end of the day, you're the guy on the ground. I'm like, you got to make the call. And I was like, I go with what you say. I defer to you. You have a better view of what's going on.
Yeah.
Just based off the speed of everything that was happening. So that there was that piece, and there was a few other things that I was just like, yeah, dude, I defer to you just because I don't have the context built to be able to speak smartly to it.
Yeah.
I can only speak in generalizations without any evidence. Right. That's what I'm lacking, is that tangible evidence. It's more just general wisdom and knowledge, essentially, is where I'm coming from. Right. So again, it's like, how do you apply those two things so that they meet together, especially when you're communicating? So someone sees something from up here and someone sees something from down here. It's like, well, how do you reconcile that? You reconcile that space with communication and trust, right? And building that bridge. It's like, and it's not always like someone has to win or lose, because it's not a win-lose thing. It's not a tug of war.
That's
like, if I get my idea wins, then I win. It's like, no, that's not how it works. It's just, and I think a lot of folks take communication
like it's a competition,
like it's an argument that I have to win.
Yeah.
Where it's just, no, I'm putting it out in the ether for information for everyone to have, like Kevin, he's a contextual guy. So, putting it out in the ether so that we can then further this communication and refine what we're talking about and come to the best resolution or decision or reconciliation of this gap that we currently have, right? I'm just trying to fill the gap or close the gap, right?
So I think a lot of it, it should always be for overall understanding, not so like you understand me or I understand you, but there should be an overall understanding, and not seen as a competition as like you versus me or me versus you, or you understand me or I understand you. I think like how you just put it right there, it shouldn't be a competition. That's what I was which I was trying to kind of get to. But I think a lot of times when we have a certain view or we have certain responsibilities, you want to be heard in order to like drive the train forward, in order to make things happen. And so stopping and understanding like communication is just for understanding in all parts. So in order for me to also, for you to understand me, I also have to understand you, because there's a lot of times when miscommunications happen when you just try to put out your side. So, which turns into if you're like, don't listen to somebody, to bring this back to a couple episodes. If you don't listen and you just want to say, hey, just listen to me, hear me, that becomes very coercive.
Yeah. If you're in a position of power.
If you're in a position of power, that's it.
Yep.
That turns into a very coercive leadership style.
Do what I tell you to do.
Yeah.
Do what I say. Yeah.
So
Kevin's down there thinking he's gonna shoot us in the heart with some friggin' Confucius nugget of wisdom that's gonna make us all just be like, yeah. There you go, Kevin.
Shared understanding is really what it comes down to, right? So a common picture that everybody has and can share, and has the same understanding of that context that you guys are talking about. So it doesn't matter if it's a conversation for trying to develop leaders, or if you're trying to be better at your craft, right? Whether it's between leaders or with you and the client, that shared understanding and bridging the knowledge gap that you were talking about is essential to finding that way forward, not only with closing a sale, but with developing leaders. And I was also thinking, as you guys were discussing, how vision kind of plays a huge role in that communication piece, that top-down vision. And it's not necessarily only relegated to the top, like Greg, Chris Curry, Spencer Long, and like all of ADV1, right? But also, what is your vision? When we're looking at that lower level leadership and middle management leadership, what is your vision for your team? How are you communicating that across all the members? Do they understand and fully buy in to your vision? You know?
I was thinking the exact same thing about vision. Like what came into my brain when you were talking was that's where the miscommunication comes from at those different levels, right? Because if Greg has a vision and here's his frame's very big, right? So his why or purpose or what have you for his vision is very big. The breadth is very wide, depth not so much, right? So he may lose clarity. You might have to you might have to look at his picture from far away to really make out what it is, right? But the closer you get to it, things start to get blurry, right? But like someone closer to the ground, like you, Kevin, like it's very granular. It's very hard edges. You can see it very clearly, right? But the frame might not be as big, right? So it's a frame within a frame. And I think that's that piece right there. That's the miscommunication, is big frame going to a smaller frame. But it's like, hey, you don't see what I see. They're big picture guy. Your stuff is kind of grainy, and you're looking at it from a mile away.
Yeah.
When in fact on the ground, this is what the clarity is. This is what's happening. And so I think that's good when you have that communication between those two levels, because there's nothing wrong with bringing clarity to a fuzzy photo. But that's where that trust piece comes in, because the person with the big view doesn't really need to concern themselves with the granularity. So they're like, you just got to trust, like, hey, nope, I don't need you to get all detailed in that little section, that little corner of my large frame. I don't need that first. I need this over here painted first. I need granularity there first. That's not a priority. And then that's where that communication piece comes in, to kind of fill that gap and close the gap, so there's not miscommunication. Because what this person's frame is may not be the big picture priority, but it is a priority to that. It is a priority to them because that's their frame, right? And so it is their biggest priority. So when leaders need to recognize that and can't dismiss and discount what that person is saying, because while it may not be what's Chris and Spencer's top priority to do XYZ, someone is assigned to do XYZ and it is their biggest priority. So when they bring it up, like, it has to be championed. Like, hey, this is important because it's important to you. It's now important to me. You can give them clarity and say, hey, yeah, your XYZ we're going to do that, here in time and space, just to give you, a level of an idea of temperance and clarity on when your thing is going to come about, right? It's not important now, but it will be in the future at this time. And I think that's important for what's the word I'm looking for? Expectation management, almost, right? Is just managing expectations. And I think that's huge too. Even in sales, and Greg, you can probably wrap this as a softball for you, but with expectations, setting expectations and managing expectations with other, I think that's where the miscommunications come, is when an expectation is either put on somebody that they didn't know was put on them by somebody else, right? Like I put an expectation on Greg to not be an hour late to this thing, right? That was an expectation.
Not even an hour late. Don't you put that on the ether?
59 minutes late.
That wasn't 59 minutes late either.
We'll go back and run the tape. But he was late to this meeting. I put that expectation on him that he'd be on time. However, I didn't know that he was dealing with something on the ground, right? And I put an expectation on him that he did not know that was on him. And so I held him to this expectation that he didn't even know he was being held to. And so that's why I had a case of the butt when I was like, bro, why are you so late? And he's like, dude, I was on with somebody else. And, you know, they had family and babies crying and mass hysteria, cats and dogs sleeping together. It's crazy, right? And I was like, oh, okay.
Ghostbusters
like,
reference.
Huh?
Ghostbusters reference.
Yeah, solid. That was solid.
That was a solid reference.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you know, a quick apology and an apology accepted, and then it's water under the bridge and it's beautiful. But again, it's that putting expectations on people that they don't even know are on them. Right. And that's always a room for disaster. And I know that you can probably weave that into how you're talking to clients for sales.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when you do that's like communication level 100, whereas leadership is going to be the 200 plus, you know, just to bring it back to like college stuff. So if you're doing it on a basic sales level, then it's just setting the table. It's just setting expectations on the front end about what's going to happen. However you set those expectations. So some people, if you're in the home, then you like to communicate very, very directly and like, hey, this is what we're going to do today. I'm going to find a policy you're going to get approved for. You're going to go get me your social. You're going to give me your ID. You're going to give me your a bank statement or a avoided check. You know, we're doing this today. You know, or you can be a little softer and you can be assertive without being aggressive, but you can still, you know, set the tempo up front and communicate expectations about what's going to happen without being super aggressive. And so that's kind of like how I do. And I've done on multiple videos. I'm not going to go into it, but when we talk about this on a leadership level, just to bring this full circle, you're going to like this. This is where culture and climate come in. This is having the right culture and climate to where there is open communication, and that's set from the beginning, that where I do have a fuzzy picture, but a wide picture, but it's fuzzy, and Kevin has a more granular picture that he comes and tells me, because we've set that culture and climate that he knows he can come tell me, and I can be like, okay, got it. That makes sense. And then I can operate from there. If you don't have a culture climate that open communication is welcomed or is almost expected, then you're going to have breakdowns of communication within every level. And then what's going to happen is the people at the highest level are not going to know what's going on at the lowest levels. And that's when you start to get those toxic bubbles of leadership that are happening within the organization that are just eroding your organization throughout the entire hierarchy. And you don't even know, because there's not that communication. Because anytime anyone tries to talk to you, you blow it off.
Yeah. And it goes both ways. You said that the leadership doesn't know what's going on, but you know, at the lower levels, because of they're not communicating, but it's also goes the other direction. The lower levels doesn't know what's going on in the upper management, because upper management hasn't communicated. And so it goes both, and those are just feedback mechanisms. Yep. There's so when you're talking culture and climate, it's feedback and embedding mechanisms that do this circular, like, okay, we're embedding certain things in our climate and culture, or in our culture, which hopefully shows itself in climate, right? With our embedding mechanisms. And some of those things are like your cultural foundation document, right? You have a document that lists out all your behaviors. Greg listed a behavior. We practice open, candid communication here, and it's expected. It's expected that you openly communicate up, down, left, and right, with everybody. But like you said before, an expectation not communicated is a recipe for miscommunication.
Mhm.
So you have to, like you said in the home, like with sales, you have to set the expectations. But because if you don't, and this is a great example, if they don't, so that's you have an expectation going into a home that you're going to get their bank information, you get their social, you're going to get all this health information, and you're going to try to see what they can get approved for and actually make a sale, right? That's your expectation going in a home. Well, if you don't voice that, you're going to get to the end and people are gonna be like, hold on a minute, wait, whoa. I thought I was just getting quotes.
Yeah.
I thought I was just getting a quote, right? I mean, and that's like, that right there tells you like, oh, I screwed up setting the table. I didn't set the expectations for this entire thing.
Yeah.
And I put that on them, and then you're gonna be like, wait, why do you think I'm here? Right? Like, what do you think the purpose of me here? It's like, well, you didn't describe your purpose, right? That's just your fault, right? So I like how we can relate this back to that sales and leadership, because sales is leadership is sales. I mean, it's all influence. Influence is influence, right? It's just the end state, which is different, right?
Yeah.
But
so what are your thoughts now, Kevin? I think we're
Kevin
wrapping
is
it up now.
stewing down there. Yeah. It's beautiful.
I was just thinking of Cotter's change model, and
he's going Cotter.
Yeah, the guiding coalition piece, right? So what we're talking about with
give some context on who Cotter's change model is, by the way.
John Cotter.
Because most people don't.
John Cotter and his 8-step change model. It's an outline for how an organization can successfully lead and transition through all the changes that are inevitable.
Oh, here we go. We've always wanted a third guy to be the Stuckey to look stuff up. Here I go. I'm looking it up,
Greg. So anyways, one of the steps is create and sustain a guiding coalition, right? And that guiding coalition is everybody within the organization that believes in the vision, believes in what changes need to happen, and all the steps needed to actually go through that change. And that whole communication piece that we've been talking about is a key essential part, right? So I was thinking of like an Olympic rowing team, right? You can row in the same direction, right? But if you're not all rowing at the same capacity, right, you're still not going to get there. And really, communication is the underlying foundation to get everybody rowing at the same direction, rowing at the same capacity, and understanding when everything needs to happen.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about is clearly essential at the organizational and sales level.
So Kevin just basically described steps 2, 3, and 4 in Cotter's 8-step model for change. Build a guiding team, develop a vision, and then communicate for buy-in or expectations, essentially.
Setting expectations.
Yeah. I like it. Way to wrap that up, Kevin. Cotter's
put a nice bow on it too.
Very nice bow. See this?
You better have that thing thick as hell by the time we get to Sacramento. That's all I'm saying.
Is Greg the youngest guy here?
Kevin's the youngest guy here.
I'm the youngest guy here.
Oh, well, Greg looks the oldest.
I don't look the oldest.
Look at all that silverback gorilla hair.
Man, I do got a lot of gray. There's more gray coming in by the day.
It's stress.
I have a feeling that my beard's going to be completely gray one day, and my hair is still going to be this color, and my beard's just going to be gray.
Are you gonna dye it, or are you gonna?
No, bro, I'm not dyeing it. I'm the hashtag transparency, bro. Hashtag full kimono. Hashtag you get me as you get me. I don't have to dye.
Hashtag send me my shirt, son.
I'll send it to you. I'll send you some, son. It's gonna take you like 6 weeks to get it because of APO shipping.
I'm aware.
So
it's worth the wait.
For those of you watching, thank you for watching the Leadership Huddle. This is episode 9 of the Leadership Huddle, all about communication. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Kevin, for coming on board and sharing doing these topics with us. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like the video. And if this video gave you any kind of, if there was any benefit from watching it, you got any value from it, then do me a favor and share it with somebody that can also get value from watching this. We do these once a week, and we share leadership topics in order to help you, the agent. But we're bringing content each